Hello, my name's Simonaz and welcome to another Simonaz Guide video. Today we're doing part 2 of the Ulduar boss guides. We'll cover the 4 Titan Keepers, General Vezax, Yogg-Saron, and Algalon. Before we get to that, I'd like to remind you all that I have a second YouTube channel now that hosts long-form, unedited VODs from my live broadcasts. That's Simonaz Show VODs channel. You can find the link to that in the video description, so go check that out if you're interested. Since you all enjoyed having Algalon on the show for part 1 of these boss guides, I've invited him back to the show to do part 2 as well. Everyone please welcome him back. You can take it from here, Algalon.
Hello, Simonize. Thank you for having me back on the show. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started right away with Hodir. Hodir is not very exciting for a rogue. Caster damage dealers can benefit from all 3 of the buffs: Cozy Fire, Moonlight, and Stormcloud, whereas rogues and most melee classes can only benefit from Moonlight and Stormcloud. Because of this, most groups strategize around maximizing caster damage output. The main thing you need to worry about as a rogue is that if you receive a Stormcloud buff, you should run towards the casters and spread the buff to them. Aside from being a complete cuck for the caster DPS when it comes to Stormclouds, there are a few other ways you can emasculate yourself to improve the damage of the casters on your team. Be sure to prioritize destroying the flash freeze ice blocks at the start and after a flash freeze. Be sure to use tricks of the trade on the main tank whenever you can. Casters are very capable of out-threading the tank, and tricks on tank is very helpful. The only cool thing you can do is to stand in Moonlight, but there may not always be a Moonlight near the boss. Also, don't be a tool and stay in Moonlight until a falling icicle hits you. Move out before it lands to minimize your damage taken so you aren't a burden to your raid. Remember, this fight is not about you. Moving on to the corrupted Titan Keeper Thorim. To free his mind from the grasp of Yogg-Saron, you'll have to brutally assault his body until he is near death. Don't ask me how that all works. It doesn't make sense to me either. As a rogue, you will likely be assigned to stay in the arena while the ranged damage dealers move through the tunnel in the first part of the fight. Don't be a stupid idiot and get yourself killed in the arena. I will laugh at you from all the way in the Celestial Planetarium, and your teammates will likely laugh at you on voice chat also. Once the tunnel team makes it to Thorim, he'll jump down and start trying to electrocute everyone. If you want to be an absolute unit, you should have the engineering Tinker Mind amplification dish on your helmet and use it to mind control one of the Dark Rune Warbringers right as Thorim jumps down. This dwarf will deal a considerable amount of damage, as well as provide your party with a 20% attack and casting speed aura, as long as it is mind controlled. You may need multiple people with the mind amplification dish in your party, since it only lasts 30 seconds. Keeping it the full fight will require multiple mind controls. Aside from that, you should stand with other melee in tight stacks to limit the number of times Chain Lightning can jump. The other way Thorim will try to murder you is with Lightning Charge attack. This attack is indicated by a small lightning trail on the ground, which shows where the attack is about to strike. If the trail is near you, you can either use feint and stand in it like a Chad, or move out at the last second to avoid the damage entirely, but risk a big chain lightning from being near other players. Simon says that combat rogues should be careful on this fight with their use of Killing Spree. You should wait until immediately after Thorim casts Chain Lightning to use Killing Spree, and then very quickly return to your normal position after Killing Spree ends. This way you won't risk linking a Chain Lightning between all the melee. When you check the chest after defeating Thorim, it's very important to immediately comment on this YouTube video. Either complain that Embrace of the Gladiator didn't drop again, flex about how you finally got your Embrace after 5 grueling long weeks of killing Thorim, or comment malding because a Ret Paladin outrolled you on it. This is an essential part of Thorim's strategy. Don't forget to do it, or you'll never be a top-tier rogue. Next up is Freya. She was a perfect fit for overseeing the Conservatory of Life in Ulduar. You know, a little bit too interested in natural remedies and the power of crystals. So your goal is to free Freya's mind from the grasp of Yogg-Saron, so she can go back to believing the types of rocks she keeps in the conservatory regulate her bowel movements or whatever. Defeating her is much more about control than it is about dealing more damage. There are a lot of ways that your group can fail, and a lot of utility things rogues can do to help. If your group is dying on the detonating lasher phase, you can weapon swap into 2 weapons with crippling poison and use Fan of Knives to apply that slow onto every lasher. There are plenty of ways to control the lashers, but if your group is struggling, try helping by applying crippling to the detonating lashers. Rogues can help a lot on the trio phase as well. If the group is having trouble with kiting the snap lasher, it's crippling poison time again. Kick, Cheap Shot, and Kidney Shot all work to interrupt the spells cast by the Storm Lasher and Ancient Water Spirit. Making sure all of those spells get interrupted is very important. If you are really struggling with this phase, you can try weapon swapping into Mind-Numbing Poison plus Crippling Poison and applying them all via Fan of Knives and target swapping. Aside from that, you should be using Tricks of the Trade to help tanks establish threat on the Ancient Conservator and on the trio spawns. You can use your Cloak of Shadows to remove Nature's Fury immediately, instead of having to run away while the Ancient Conservator is active. Feint is extremely good to use prior to each cast of Ground Tremor throughout the fight, greatly reducing your damage taken. Simon has highlighted this part of the notes for Freya. He says it is cringe as hell if your raid asks you to use wound poison when there is a hunter in your group. It's a super marginal loss for the hunter to apply aimed shot, but about 7-8% loss for a combat rogue to replace instant with wound, or a 15-16% loss for an assassination rogue to replace instant with wound. Hunters who don't take aimed shot are hoes, he says. You should only do wound poison if there is no one else in the raid who can apply a healing debuff. Combat rogues and assassination rogues using a Blade Flurry build can do pretty good damage on Freya if they get lucky. Blade Flurry is pretty strong if the 2 trio add phases are far enough apart that you get to Blade Flurry for both of them, but whether they spawn favorably is not in your control and comes down to RNG and kill speed. Standard Hunger for Blood Assassination is a good choice for Freya that doesn't rely on a lucky spawn order. Just like with Thorim, be sure to make a post on Discord or YouTube about how Blade Twister did or didn't drop this week, or how the hunter had the audacity to select Need, but you still outrolled them. They deserve to lose the roll for not bothering to apply aimed shot. Finally, we come to the last Titan Keeper, Mimiron. One of the most useful things a rogue can do here happens before you even engage the boss. While your squad is clearing other areas of the raid, you can run off to Mimiron and sneak past all these very annoying trash mobs. When constructing Ulduar, we put these mechanical spiders and sentry units in and made them intentionally super obnoxious, so that adventurers would figure out how to skip them, not actually fight them. It is hilarious to me that some people actually try to fight these. There are a lot of ways to get past these enemies, but the fastest and most consistent method Simon has found is to use a lesser invisibility potion. You use sprint, then evasion, then invisibility, and then run. The sentries from the second group will still attack you, but keep running past them. You can cloak if they cast spells on you. Then Nitro Boost and activate your electromagnetic pulse generator engineering belt to make it past the third pack and vanish when you are around the corner. When you get to Mimiron, pull him with a ranged attack and use Rocket Boots Extreme to exit the room before you are locked in. Doing this will enable your entire team to teleport directly to the Spark of Imagination to fight Mimiron. Now that you've passed the idiot check of not actually fighting the trash mobs, it's time to fight Mimiron himself. Mimiron is a bunch of individual simple mechanics, but all at once, which can make it difficult to keep track of everything. In Phase 1, Simon says to run away from Shock Blast in the same direction as the tank, so that after Shock Blast the boss moves towards you, and you can get back to it faster. Phase 2 is the Burn phase. You want this phase to end as soon as possible since raid damage is very high. You should spend all your cooldowns here, and also be using Feint every time it is available to reduce damage taken. Phase 3 is less exciting, but rogues can offer a very clean way to handle the assault bots. Weapon swapping into a weapon with crippling poison keeps a very powerful slow on the bots 100% of the time. This makes it super easy for whoever is kiting them. If the kiter is a Death Knight, they can focus on threat with Icy Touch instead of spending frost runes on Chains of Ice and having threat problems. Phase 4 is all the abilities from Phase 1, 2, and 3 together. Fan of Knives is capable of hitting all 3 units at once, and combat rogues should do this while maintaining 1-point slice and dice for maximum damage output. For assassination rogues, just stick to your normal single-target rotation. With all the Titan Keepers freed, you can pursue General Vezax and Yogg-Saron. I call him Soggy Yoggy, and it has annoyed him for all of the many centuries he has been locked in our prison. General Vezax is very simple as a rogue. Just like with Freya, you'll only use wound poison if you are the only person who can apply a healing debuff in the entire raid. For interrupting Vezax's fire attack, rogues are the worst candidate to fulfill that responsibility as well. Enhancement shamans and death knights can interrupt with 0 loss to their damage output and are the best candidates, while frequent kicks from a rogue amount to 5.6% damage loss for the player. You should only do kicks if your enhancement shamans or death knights are brain damaged and incapable of this basic task. Similar to Hodir, tanks can have triple generating enough threat on this boss. It is important to use Tricks of the Trade every chance you get to give the tank a threat boost. Be sure Tricks of the Trade is available when the Saronite Animus spawns, because it is very important to give the tank a threat boost to pick up the Animus quickly. Make sure your cooldowns are ready for the Animus. You want to kill it quickly. For a rogue, you are mostly sitting there doing your very simple job for 5 or 6 minutes, hoping the ranged damage dealers don't grief by dying to Shadow Crash, healing the boss for 10 million HP because they don't understand how Mark of the Faceless works, or pulling threat because they still haven't gotten a grasp on how the threat mechanic works after playing this game since Vanilla Classic. That brings us to Soggy Yoggy. This is a 3-phase encounter, and you have a different job each phase as a rogue. In Phase 1, your primary goal is to never touch one of the roaming fart clouds in the room. If you are Elite Gamer 42069XXX and can manage this amazing feat, try dealing damage to the Guardians also. Use Feint to reduce your damage taken from their on-death explosion. In Phase 2, you will likely be assigned to a brain portal. When they spawn, take it immediately and squish the tentacles in the illusion room. These deal reflective damage when you attack them, and Cloak of Shadows can negate that damage. Have your Cloak and Health Stone ready so you don't die while attacking them. Once the tentacles are cleared, Sprint or Nitro boost into the brain room and pop off, King. All cooldowns and everything you've got. You can Tricks of the Trade another damage dealer while running into the brain for the damage boost. For Phase 3, your strategy is drastically different if you are doing One Light or Though Light Yoggi. For One Light, the only way your group fails is by having people get mind-controlled from sanity loss or from too many ads accumulating. So turn away from Yogg-Saron and DPS each ad as it comes in to make sure they are killed quickly. For Zero Light, you will DPS the first couple of ads since reducing their health reduces their damage output, but will be quickly overwhelmed. Other players will begin kiting the ads when there are too many, and at that point, you will focus all your damage on Yogg-Saron. With proper kiting, wound poison on the ads is not necessary. Rogue is the only class that could effectively apply the healing debuff to many enemies by using Fan of Knives, but normally this is not needed. Okay, so Yogg is dead, and now you guys think you can just roll up to the Celestial Planetarium and take my Comet's trail, do you? Well, let me tell you what I got hands, and I will not let go of Comet's trail easily, so bring it on, bitch. Luckily for you rogues, what you guys do while fighting me is not that difficult. You've got 3 main things to worry about. The first is Cosmic Smash. Simon says the best way to handle this is to have all melees stacked together on either my left foot or my right foot. Then every time I attempt to kill stupid idiots who can't react to basic mechanics by launching Cosmic Smash at them, the melee group just moves to the opposite foot. They don't even need to know where the Cosmic Smashes are. If they swap sides each time without thinking, they'll be fine. Next are the black hole explosions. Some ranged damage dealers will destroy stars, and when they do, they will explode for big damage on the raid. Whenever this happens, rogues should press Feint to get an extra 50% damage reduction from this explosion. The last thing you'll need to know about as a rogue is the Big Bang. Usually rogues will just go into the black hole to enter the Shadow Realm like everyone else to avoid the attack. But some groups will want their rogue to soak the Big Bang if they don't have anyone else to do it. Rogues can absorb the Big Bang attack 2 different ways, and the first is to use a subtlety talent specialization like this one shown on screen. Cheat Death will make it so you simply cannot die to Big Bang. When Big Bang happens, run a little ways away from me and chill out. You can press Cloak of Shadows to negate any constellations from blasting you with arcane damage. Big Bang goes out. You live with Cheat Death. The tank taunts me off of you and everything is great. This is the safe strategy and lowers your character's damage output a little bit. It will work in both 10 and 25 player Ulduar. The riskier strategy is to use a standard combat or standard assassination build with Glyph of Cloak of Shadows. You'll generally deal more damage with this strategy. You can survive Big Bang in 10 player only with Glyphed Cloak, plus Feint plus around 32,000 health. You can add a Priest's Power Word, Shield to your health to reach this 32,000 health number if that is available. With this setup you have enough damage reduction and enough health to survive my attack in 10 player, but not in 25 player. Anyways, Simon says you should join the Discord server linked in the video description if you want more information about surviving Big Bang. There are more detailed explanations there and plenty of other resources to learn about rogues. That's a wrap. I'm gonna call up the other Titans and see if they want to hang out again. Maybe they've forgotten about how I was bested in combat by mere mortals like yourselves. Algalon out.
Thanks for watching the Simonized Show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Can't wait for more sweet videos? Links are on screen that you can watch right now. Be sure to join the Discord server and pop by on Twitch to catch me live. Links to both are in the video description. Thank you for watching and have a great day.